So it is my absolute honor and pleasure to kick off the Women's Coaching and Consulting Council of C-Suite Network today. And I'm Trisha Ben, the CEO of C-Suite Network. I cannot emphasize enough how connected I am to this topic, how critical it is, how overlooked I believe it is until there's some kind of crisis. And we all fall into that bucket in some way or another in some aspect of our well-being, but our health is everything in terms of how we lead success in our businesses and for others that we're serving with our coaching and consulting and so on. So it is with absolute delight that I introduce formally Kathleen Caldwell, who is, of course, the CEO of Caldwell Consulting Group. She's also the founder of the C-Suite Network Women's Coaching and Consulting Council. And as she likes to say, dear friend, we all get to be Kathleen's dear friend. She is our dear friend and always cheering on our behalf and here supporting us, leading and seeing us in our success of our businesses and our lives. So without further ado, Kathleen, I am very, very honored always to hand things over to you for another great session of this council.
Trisha, thank you, thank you, thank you. And we're going on 10 and a half years now. We've been such dear friends, and I'm so grateful to C-Suite Network for bringing us together and this fabulous council. And, ladies, we just never know the ripple effect. Everything that we do, who we are, our life force energy is so critical. And this topic today, I'm singing your praises too, Trisha, because it is really, really important. And, the phrase is always, your health is your wealth. And so I just get this great opportunity to formally also introduce our speaker today, our esteemed faculty member, Julia Linn. And so let me jump in and do that. Thank you, Trisha, again, for that very, very beautiful, kind, and genuine and sincere, authentic introduction. I appreciate that so much. So with that, ladies, the world is really focusing in, as you know, on health, vitality, energy, and the cost of also not having it. And so, our speaker today, I'd love to formally introduce Julia Linn because I think that having a health advantage is absolutely critical. And thank you, Tricia, for the introduction. I'm Kathleen Caldwell, delighted to be the founder of the C-Suite Network Women's Coaching and Consulting Council. It's the joy of my life. So thank you for this great privilege and opportunity. And this topic, it's timely for us to be able to focus in our health and our vitality and our resiliency. And we're going to keep this very conversational and very, very timely. But this is also something that we get to shine the light on for our clients. Our clients are dealing with this in the workforce, in their lives. And so how can we possibly have vibrant, alive human beings if our health is compromised? And so we get to be the caregivers, so to speak, for our clients, but we're also caregivers for our beloveds as well. So Julia, thank you for coming in and speaking, leading this conversation, because you're a stand for women over 50, especially to have the life and the lean way of living that's so critical to live a life that we love. And so you're speaking to the choir here, Julia. Thank you. So be sure to connect with Julia Linn on LinkedIn, Facebook, Instagram. How many followers are you up to now on Instagram, Julia?
Yeah, I think I have, last count was 234,000.
Okay, so
Oh,
here we
quarter of a
go.
million almost.
Isn't that exciting? Yes. And so many, many people follow you and get your advice and counsel on living a healthy life. And of course, you've got a great story that I know you want to tell as well about your health journey. So, with that, we know, and I'll just do a quick little introduction here. We know that this is so important because without our health, many, many say that, hey, when you have one wish for your life, if you have your health and your vitality, you could have 1,000 or 1,000,000 dreams. But when you don't have your health or your clients do not have their health, they have merely one dream and it's focused in on their health. And so, Julia, I'm just going to kind of bring it bring it back to some of the topics we spoke about, but maybe to kick things off and of course tell us more about your journey. But one of the hottest topics, ladies, right now is this term energetic and emotional resilience. Our power grid, we're bringing in economic topics as well, but this is all about an energy system that's able to withstand and with disruptions. And so just as the grid, our human grid, we need to be able to withstand and be able to deal with all of the disruptions in life in general. So, Julia, jump in, get us talking about how do we do things like build our emotional and energetic resilience,
Yeah, I
among
love
other things. Yeah.
that image of the broadcasting tower, if that's what it was, because that's what we are. We're a broadcasting tower, and we're always broadcasting our energetic footprint, if you will. You can call it whatever you want, aura, vibe, whatever. And to me, that starts at a very deep level, the core of who we are. And it doesn't matter what your spiritual tradition is, or if you don't have one, it doesn't matter. We all know we have this core. And if we come from that space of that sort of regulates our thoughts, then the thoughts regulate our emotions regulate our behavior, and then we get an outcome. And if you don't like the outcome you have in your life, and many women who are working hard are at the founder, CEO level, C-suites, just really pushing, 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 it's all sort of energy getting leaked into this outer reality rather than let me start at the core. Like, what's my purpose? What really brings me joy? And for a lot of women, it is the work. It is for me, but to align it with a deeper resilience of who you are at the core rather than thinking, well, I'm this person and I do this, and then I'm going to ignore my thought patterns. I'm going to ignore how those thought patterns set me up for anxiety and exhaustion. And because women, I think at any age who are pursuing a career, there's a lot of energy around, you got to prove yourself. And I think this happens a lot to women, even younger women. I've got to prove myself. I've got to show that I can do this. I can show I can be strong. And what I've seen is that many women that have done this for decades wear that exhaustion and that burden on their body. And they think, oh, I got to lose weight. The weight you need to lose is the stuff you carry inside, the weight of being perfect, the weight of impressing people, the weight of proving yourself. So the resilience to me starts at a deep level. Yeah. Kathleen, you're muted.
Yeah, thank you so much. And it's interesting to me how young, as you were mentioning, younger generations, and ladies, jump in with your point of view on this. I mean, what are you seeing with your clients? And I also think as coaches and consultants, trusted advisors, what are we modeling for our clients and for our communities? And I'm not saying that we have to be perfect because Julia, we don't want to get into the perfectionism kind of
No,
thing, but
exhausting.
exhausting. Yeah, that's a trap we don't want to get into. But what I'm noticing, it was interesting. I had a CEO of a major banking system, very powerful, powerful person, and she said to me, "How are you doing? You really busy?" And I said, "No, I don't know that I would say I'm busy." I said, that term busy, it was almost like, wow, busy, just as you were saying, it was like busy was like a badge of honor. It was like, oh gosh, I don't want to be just busy all the time, right? But that's kind of ingrained in a certain generation that busy equals good, busy equals valued and valuable and all those things, but not the energetic reserves, right? And resilience. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
definitely.
Yeah. Jump in, ladies. What are you seeing? What are you hearing? Julia, what are you seeing with your clients? Why are they coming to you for your programs and for the things that you're doing?
Yeah, I think what I'm seeing a lot is the need for an identity shift. And by that I mean not pigeonholing your role in the world as mom, executive, you know, grandmother, nurturer of all, caretaker, all of that stuff, which we do naturally. Women are amazing nurturers, but I've heard women say it's not that they're not on the list, or it's not that they're last on the list, they're not even on the list. So after a woman hits menopause, retirement, empty nest, maybe divorce, maybe taking care of aging parents who then pass away. I talked to a woman yesterday who joined my program. She started the conversation in tears. She just became a widow at a youngish age. I think, I think 60s are young for that. But anyway, she started by saying, I don't know who I am. And she was in tears. And she's an accomplished human being with a successful career. And I think women just get to that point when all the noise goes away. Who am I? And part of my experience in my lifetime dealt with health challenges that threatened my life over and over again. Childhood diabetic, all the complications in my late 20s. Kidneys failed at age 34. I had heart disease. I was going blind, nerve damage. 34. And I just married my husband, and the offer that was made to me, because if I was on dialysis, I wouldn't have lived to 40. The doctor said, we can put you on dialysis, but you're still going to be diabetic. You're not going to live to 40. So they told me they were doing experimental organ transplants with pancreas, which is obviously the organ that doesn't work with diabetes, and we can give you a new kidney. But you could die from the operation. And so it was a matter of making a choice. And I thought, I cannot continue to live the way I have. So I opted for the double organ transplant, which was very new at that time. It was 35 years ago. And obviously, I'm still here, but there was also a triple cardiac bypass, a thyroidectomy. So my body kept having these extreme experiences to save my life. And at 62, I thought, that's it. I'm going to take charge. I'm going to get healthy. It was so clear to me that life, how precious life was. And I wanted to honor my organ donor, Gina, who died in a car accident at 25. And I just found her family this year. I'll try not to cry when I say that. It was totally amazing. But anyway, so I took 2 years, started lifting weights, watching, really dialing in my nutrition because we all know how to lose weight and get fit, but it doesn't stick or we don't do it. So you got to find a big why. You got to find your really deep why. Why do you want to get healthy? It could be because you can be on the floor with your grandkids, or it could be you want to honor your organ donor and your husband and be around for that. So 2 years later, I had a coach that encouraged me to compete in bodybuilding. So at age 64, I did that and I won first place. And I thought, whoa, this is kind of cool. So I had this whole identity shift about an unhealthy woman, previously diabetic. Now she's on, an organ transplant, heart disease, all this stuff. And because I stepped into a healthy existence by my own actions. It was empowering in the way the body was completely transformed. No doubt my before and afters are like, oh my God. But that wasn't the incredible thing. It was my mindset shift. It was the way I thought about myself. Suddenly, my identity was completely changed. And that's why I go back to this core thing. Like, I think women who are so busy in a career and working hard and doing all the things you do as a mother, grandmother, wife, daughter, partner, whatever it is, she forgets herself. And at a certain point, she wears it on her body and then wonders what happened. And then you throw menopause in there for women over 50. It's not fun. And it can just cause a lot of just drama in your day-to-day life, let alone medical bills and a future that doesn't look good and you don't have the energy and we're already being labeled when we start getting gray hair or we get over a certain age, we become invisible and irrelevant. So I really put the call out for women to value themselves first, change that narrative. And if we all show up like who we really are at the core, it's a powerful shift. The world will notice. People will notice. Our family will notice. the people that love us will notice. Yeah.
Yeah, that is such a great message. And in our council, we get to lead the way to be able to do these things and to really reinvent, what uh oh gosh, I even hate to say it, midlife, or what aging looks like. And I was reading an article just yesterday and thinking about our program today is there's a concept of aging in reverse or aging backwards. And I think that's what we're demonstrating here is that we get to remodel what's possible. And I'm curious too, Julia, we talked a little bit about this, but I'm curious about your perspective and then all of our perspectives on balance. We that was kind of a buzzword in HR for a long time is, healthy balance and work-life balance. And Trisha, I also know that that's a term that you do not like, this work-life balance. But I did kind of like the look of the idea of, okay, well,
Ooh.
life sometimes we're teetering a little bit on a little pin sometimes, but talk to us a little bit and everybody jump in. What's your philosophy about balance? How do we build our reserves? How do we build that balance? Because we know when our life is out of balance, or at least some sort of semblance of balance, we know it, we feel it, right? I mean, I know when I'm not sleeping. My little girl wants, my little inner child. She wants a lot of sugar. She wants to be sugar, sugar, sugar. And it's like to calm and soothe. It's like, okay, having my wise adult take over and, like this is the thing that's really good for you. And let's go here. So, what are your thoughts about balance for you in your life and for your clients and for you personally? Yeah, jump in. Julia, lead the way, girl. Balance.
Okay.
What do you
Well,
think about
I didn't
balance?
want to talk over anyone,
No,
but
that's all right. Yeah.
I think for me, what I'm discovering and have discovered over years of self-improvement and my spiritual practice and all of that is that if I am stuck in the past with what hurt me in the past, whether it was childhood trauma or, a toxic relationship or whatever, I set myself up to try and avoid that in the future. So I act out of fear of whatever it is, not being good enough, not being perfect, all of that. So I'm projecting into the future the thing that hurt me in the past. And what that does is it just sort of sets me up to keep having that experience, right? So my what I really focus on is live in the present moment. And I know that's a cliche, the power of now and all of that, but this is where life happens. It doesn't happen in our mind, regurgitating painful memories or even regret or whatever it is. And it doesn't happen in the future because it's not happened yet. But in this moment, this is life itself in this moment. Otherwise, it's a play or a movie we're running in our mind that's not real. What's real is being here with all you beautiful women talking about things that matter, and Kathleen and Trisha, putting this together. I mean, that's what's real in this moment. It feels so valuable. And if I'm off thinking about, God, something my mother said to me when I was 8, or, oh my God, what am I going to do next week? And if I'm trying to avoid something that I think's going to hurt me, it's like such a waste of energy. So it's to me, living in the moment is the powerful technique that I use. And that gives me balance. That's like, okay, what do I need to do right now? Like, I'm in no danger. I have a roof over my head. I'm warm. I've eaten. I'm with these amazing women. Like, what do I have to worry about? And even running a business or being, an executive or what women have as roles in their work, just you can only do one thing at a time, like one task at a time. And if it brings you joy, great. If it doesn't bring you joy, I mean, maybe you got to learn something about that. What's the resistance? What's the resistance coming up that you don't like that or it doesn't work for you? So it's to me, it's a real journey in self-knowledge.
Fantastic. So agree. And even could be the conversation or the situation that happened 30 minutes ago. Doesn't even have to be, like
Not
life stuff.
30
It could be just
years, 30
right.
minutes.
It just could be just something that just happened. Someone we're driving somewhere, someone cut us off or something. It's like, hey, what are we holding on to that's interrupting our serenity and balance so we can be present in this beautiful moment? Thank you. Thank you. Susan, jump in, and then Deb, what are your thoughts? Balance.
Balance to me is a static situation. And so, like Trisha, it is not a word I achieve in success because you always have a give and take. What are you willing to, in this moment, let go of to make space for something that is important to you? So when Julia's talking about mindset, when she's talking about being in the moment, you have to make a consideration for what is important to make the move forward while still respecting where you're at this time. And sometimes that means letting go of something that you had promised yourself you were going to do today, but you recognize that's no longer the important piece. That doesn't give you balance, but it certainly makes life a lot more interesting when you're willing to say, this is what I need now versus what I expected to need now. And make sure that that is served in a respectful way. The past is something you can learn from, but you can't dwell there. So I truly agree. It is not about that. And I was listening to, I stumbled across an old Alan Watts thing where he said, are you letting your problem own you?
Mm.
And how do you even know who you are when all you think about is the problem that you are owning in this moment instead of letting go of that problem to recognize who are you at your core. So there's so much of that that is powerful to be able to recognize who you are and what you really have to have as the feeding of your soul, mind, spirit, as well as your body and the physical nature of life around you.
Beautiful. Love that.
Certainly integrating humanitarianism, your body of work, changing cultures by focusing in on the who, not just the what about people. How cool.
Mhm.
Yeah, thank you. Deb, jump in.
Well, first of all, Julia,
Harmony.
holy cow, you are absolutely incredible.
Aw,
It
thank
is,
you.
people say, they say that I'm the Energizer Bunny, and I just keep going. That's you.
Oh,
Yeah,
we're
right.
sisters then.
Yes, yes. And I don't like the term balance either, because to me it implies either or. So like work life balance, you can choose work or you can choose life. And also balance ends up being, if you want it to balance, it's 50-50. Well, sometimes it's 99-1, right? And so I think we excuse me, we shouldn't even try for it. We just do like everybody's been saying, and like you've been saying, live in the moment. What do we need to do now?
Well, Kathleen, you said something about the 30 minutes before, and the example you used was somebody cut you off in traffic. And I have been really working on that. Not rushing in my car to get to the gym and come home and all that stuff. And I also realize every time I get mad at another driver, I'm allowing someone I don't even know to have power over my emotional state. And when I realized that, I thought, whoa, they have no right, and I have no right to allow it. It's like, I want to have sovereignty over my emotional states. That means don't react to all this external stuff that's going on. And I've done other things like I don't read the news. I know what's going on, but I don't have to jump into those articles and get the details that I know what's going on. I don't put myself in a place where it starts ruminating. And then again, external things I have no control over
Mhm.
start affecting my inner peace. And that's the same as a driver cutting me off. It's like, I don't know that person. I'm giving them this power to shift my emotional state in that moment rather than just be patient. Like maybe they're cutting me off because God doesn't want me to run into that accident down the road or be the accident down the road. It's like people that say their flight was canceled and they didn't get on the flight or they got late and the plane crashes. I mean, I think there's just divine timing in everything. And this relaxing and living in the moment. And like, Deb was saying, it can be 99 or 1%. And even, what Susan was saying, I think all ties into that awareness of what are we doing in this moment? Like what's important in this moment? And can we meet it with grace and not beat ourselves up and not push ourselves and not be like, I'm not good enough. I don't deserve it. And those are like subconsciously embedded thoughts that we may not even know we have. Like, I didn't know I had low self-esteem until I married an abusive man in my 20s and then went into therapy and was like, what? I was like, what? Because I was accomplished. I lived in New York City. I had great relationships with women, but the men were like such a disaster. But you have to ask yourself if this keeps following me everywhere I go, like a bad boss or a bad job, you're the common thing in all of that. So you got to look at yourself and go, what am I putting out to attract that? And once I did, I met my husband, Paul, and we've been married 36 years, and he's amazing. But I didn't even know I had low self-esteem. And I was like, in my late 20s, I had no idea. So these things hide. And hopefully by now we've got an inkling of where we need to put the healing of self-love on ourselves. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, and such great points. And I also wonder, going back to kind of originally thinking about our energetic resilience and this whole topic about what are the vibes that we're putting out there as coaches and consultants, trusted advisors and thought leaders. Are we focused on magnetizing and attracting who we really want to attract and also the opportunities that are right for us right now in this moment? And I know that there are oftentimes, and I've shared this before, is I the whole busy thing, right? And I equated more clients at one time with being so busy that it was like, wow, I can't handle all this. So energetically putting off the vibes of no, not ready for more. And so, it's know thyself, as you're saying, Julia. And what is it that we're putting out there consciously or subconsciously that's then giving us the results of what we have? And I think, you're speaking to a very uh, advanced, masterful group here, Julia. You know that, with our
Yeah, these are
council.
great, great women. Absolutely.
Yes, yes. But our clients are dealing with all of this as well. And so, to be able to shine the light for them on, hey, have you considered this? Or why don't we work on this? Or what, these kinds of opportunities are so critical, but not from a place of judgment or, better than that, but more of like, okay, I think noticing is so important, right? Rather than jumping into judgment, just noticing, observing. We're so good at that. Yeah.
Yeah.
Tricia, I'm also curious with all of what we're talking about, you're in a position of leading such
Mm.
a fast growing organization in C-Suite Network and all of the entities of C-Suite Network. What is all of this, what's bringing all of it coming up for you around all of these topics, energetic resilience and balance, and, while at the same time doing big things?
I I think it's just such an important conversation. So first, thank you, Kathleen, for setting this conversation up. Julia, thank you so much for bringing all of this wisdom to the table. And I think especially for women, um, having the space in place for these conversations is just so critical. And as I think to my own experience, being in my 50s, and I was the youngest executive in an enterprise-sized organization, North America wide, at 31 years old. And in my youth, I trained at the Olympic Training Center for figure skating. So being conscientious to where I am with things, my health, my ability to lead successfully, how I'm feeling, my mindset, this is not That's not a new concept. The challenge, I think, is what are the frameworks to help us cue in to what's going on? And so I love everything that's been shared. And so I was just as I was listening, I was writing down like what are my frameworks, my pieces, my tool set that I can identify this for myself. And maybe that helps other women to identify where that is for them, the perfectionism thing, we were talking about that, and I wrote down shoulding. And many have heard me say, please, for the love of God, do not let someone should on you, and do not should on yourself. It's just unacceptable, and it's noisy, and it's painful, and it usually comes from complete ignorance or a lack of any connection to reality. We can should on ourselves. You should have, why didn't I, all of those things. And practically speaking, it's not even possible that we could do all the things that come into that perfectionism thing of, I should have done that. Great. If you had 10 other lifetimes, if you were a perfect, human being of some form that doesn't exist, sure, like all these things that are very unrealistic. So that was one tool. Every time someone says should, including myself, I'm very attentive to that word because it usually is followed by nonsense that I should not be listening to. Should not. Anyway, you get my point. Listening to my body and being easy with myself is what I'm really working on now. So I'm fighting off a little bit of a cold and maybe winter allergies. So I've been putting myself to bed by the latest 8 o'clock at night this week. I'm not on the road. I happen to be able to do it. And I'm just listening to my body and I'm being easy with myself. Same thing with working out and exercising. I'm being easy with myself. Didn't work out today. That's okay. I've got tomorrow. And when I do, I celebrate that. So just being easy with myself is something I'm really thinking a lot about these days. And ironically, that comes with my weight being where it should be, being more active. And so that's been a really powerful tool, is just being easy with myself. I got today, and what do I want to be able to try to accomplish tomorrow? If I didn't get it done tomorrow, okay, well then I've got today, that's something I found useful. Everyone knows that I love using conditions of satisfaction. I think that's another one where it allows me, it's a tool set. It allows me to trigger around things that I need to pause around. So living in the moment, all of those kinds of things. One of my conditions of satisfaction is having really meaningful conversations. We're having a really meaningful conversation here, and I'm fully engaged. This means something to me. This is valuable, and I'm here. But having that as a very, very much stated condition of satisfaction for me, and every day, something I can achieve no matter where I am, who I'm with, what I'm doing, that means that I can identify, this is one of those moments. Stop pulling up other things and just engage in this conversation. And I will just, I guess I'll stop with one story. And this is a piece of insight. Those moments when something comes to you and you can encapsulate it perfectly, at least for what you're feeling and what you want to be able to convey. And many of us who have children in our lives, there's this whole thing of the perfect mom and all of the judgment and nonsense that goes around that. And a few years ago now, I have 2 daughters, and I sat them down, and I never talked down to my children. I very much treat them as humans. And so I sat them down and I said, this is something I absolutely know to be true. Working with, meeting, knowing thousands and thousands and thousands, millions of people over the years, because that is something in C-suite that's inevitable. I know this to be true. 20 years from now, you can sit down across from someone and you can take one thing or many things I did, your father did, or anyone else that you know, and you can explain to that person why you are such, and I use the real word, excuse me, I'm sorry, such an effing asshole. Or you can sit down 20 years from now and you can choose one thing, many things I did, your father did, or anyone else, and you can explain why you are such an incredible person. And here's the thing that's so important about that. Only you get to write that story. only you, with all the experiences you have in your life, you're the only one who gets to write that story. I have nothing to do with it. So that story to me is one of those things where if I can share that and it creates value or a tool, a framework for somebody to say, I don't need to own every single second of my child's experience in life and adult child and, senior citizen, for goodness sake. Then what freedom does that create? And how much power does that give to that next generation and to those of us that understand that really is the truth? We all know people who've had everything given to them and do nothing with it but abuse it. And we know people who've had nothing given to them and do everything to create incredible outcomes. So anyway, there we go. You asked Kathleen, and I don't know. I think I just did
Beautiful.
the 25 cents in the machine.
Well, and
Lovely
isn't
share.
yeah, and metaphors for everything.
Mhm.
It's clients and partners doing, and yet, whatever we can control the outcome of things so often,
Mhm.
right? It's just great. Control what we can control. Yeah.
And
Yes.
how do we share those stories with each other? Because these are
Mm.
debilitating. Like this notion that you own every second of your child's experience is a massively debilitating concept for women. And it's ridiculous. It's ridiculous. We do not own that. It's not something we can own.
And certainly then leads to helicopter parents and overdoing, and then the health impact that it takes on the parent and the child and the ecosystem, all of these things. Wow. Okay, that sounds
Mhm.
like a great program that we could start working on next, right?
Mhm.
Yes, yes. Deb,
There we go.
thank you, Tricia. Deb, do you want to jump in? And then we've got one more
Yeah.
topic, and then
Oh,
we'll
this
take it
this
on
is just
home.
incredible. So much fun. Julia, you used a word that I love, grace, right? I
Mm,
have a friend whose husband passed away less than a month ago. He had Alzheimer's, but it was very quick. And so she's just been devastated. And she posted on Facebook last week, I don't know that I can get through Thanksgiving without crying.
Mm.
And of course, well meaning people said, you've got this, you can do it, right? And they meant well, right? And I responded and I said, please give yourself the grace to feel what you need to feel.
Beautiful. Wow.
beautiful. Yes, yes. Yeah, thank you. And to kind of wrap things up, I know that this is so important to you, Julia, and to all of us is thinking about, turning balance then, or whatever that means to us, into how do we create daily habits so that we can actually start to integrate more of this. And I cannot stand, hey, like the ebook, the 9 daily habits, the seven, situations to do XYZ. It's like it makes it sound so easy and so manageable. But I'm curious, Julia, what are your thoughts about, hey, what are the habits how do we create ongoing habits, of course, and how do we have them support us in our clarity, our focus, our emotional state, and our life vitality? What are your thoughts about habits?
Well, because I do coach women 50 plus who are in menopause, and they come to me about their body. They want to lose weight, and I give them what they want, but I really give them what they need, which is
Mm,
really to honor who they are. And very often they're so hard on themselves and they beat themselves up. And if it's not perfect, and they quit easily because they're exhausted. And I always bring this question, would you treat your best friend this way? Or would you treat your child this way?
yeah.
Or even your pet. Like I used that for someone. I said, like, you have a dog? She goes, yeah. Which dog's name? Theo. Do you love Theo? I love Theo. And this is a woman that would get up in the morning and not eat. She would weaponize food so she would lose weight. And I said, would you ever get up in the morning and go, I don't think I'll feed Theo today. He doesn't need it. And I'm not going to take him for a walk. He doesn't need exercise. She goes, absolutely not. I said, well, then why do you do that to yourself? So the habits need to be, again, like what Deb was saying, bringing that grace upon ourselves, honoring who we are, self-love, knowing that we're absolutely worth it. I used to work for L'Oreal and I do love you're worth it. You're worth it. But the daily habits need to be gentle, small steps, not I never do, here's your nutrition plan and here, do this workout. It's like I find out where she is, what she can do. Maybe it's a 20-minute walk 3 days a week. That's all we work on. So I think being so gentle with yourself, but discovering what it is you want to change, researching what it's going to take, hopefully finding a mentor, a business mentor, whatever it is that we're involved with, but then just being gentle about it and allow, especially as we age, and I like pro-age rather than anti-age, as we pro-age, just being gentle with ourselves and giving more than grace, the patience, and realizing that things don't happen overnight. We know that by now. You're in your fourth, fifth, sixth decade. It's like nothing happens overnight. And we were willing to go to college for 4 years. We knew what was going to happen at the end of 4 years, and we kept with it. But a lot of times, if it's to help us improve in business or our bodies or our mindset or whatever, we want it like now. And Amazon Prime has not helped that at all. It's like we can get things overnight, sometimes the same day. It's like life doesn't work that way. So my whole message around habits and building them is to stack them slowly, fold them into your life right now. And as you get this sense of, oh my God, that feels good, or oh my God, I feel empowered, you'll be encouraged within yourself to do more of it. But if it's cracking the whip, it's not going to work. And so many of us crack the whip on ourselves and then we quit and go, I can't do this, and then wonder why. I have no motivation. I don't have time. I don't have the money. I don't have this. And those are just excuses hiding the fact that you've been damn mean to yourself. So gentle self-love, and self-love could just look like accepting the parts of yourself that you don't love, accepting all of it. Like it's okay. And
Beautiful.
Trisha was talking about perfectionism and perfect. It does not exist, period. It doesn't exist. There is no such thing. But we're constantly like trying to get there. So the habits, I think, have to start slow and things that you enjoy doing. Like some women go out and start walking. They're like, wow, I really enjoyed that. It was beautiful out, or I took my dog, or it felt good. So to me, that's how you build the habits. And after consistency is another important point. If you are consistent, after a while, this is what happened to me 7 years ago, 40 pounds heavier, felt like crap, had no energy, knew I needed to do something and wanted to. And now it's just who I am. I don't even think, should I go to the gym or not go to the gym? I go to the gym. It's like I get up and brush my teeth. I wash my face. I take showers. It's like you don't think about it because it becomes part of your routine. And then because it feels good, you don't quit doing it. But you can't shove yourself in that, you know, chute to do it immediately, perfect every day, and beat yourself up when you don't. So, yeah.
Beautiful, beautiful. So let's wrap up. And Susan, maybe you could even wrap up. I know you had something that you wanted to share, but I want to get your voice in here about, for all of us, I think the real key here is how can we bring our best self to our lives? And gosh, all of you contributed so many beautiful things, so many profound topics and distinctions. And I think as a coach, consultant, trusted advisor, thought leader, the category of one in the work that you're doing is bringing our light, not only to ourselves, but also to the world, because goodness knows we need more light. So with that, want to mention next week, and we'll do a quick little wrap up here. We're so excited to be featuring Deb Creer talking about, hey, how to trying not to die.live, but how do we run a business? This is for executives. This is for business owners, CEOs, people even running their own department business, so to speak. How do you stay steady and control when cancer or a diagnosis enters your world? Hey, life is in session. So Deb's going to be speaking about that. It's going to be a great program next Thursday. And I'm curious what your biggest takeaway is. And Julia, why don't you lead? Because you have a gift for us as well.
I
And would you
do.
like to share your screen? And then we could just share briefly what's your biggest takeaway from our time together?
Yeah, it just being with women like this, Trisha, Deb, Carol, Susan, Kathleen, just like meaningful conversations. That my takeaway is how valuable this is and how valuable it can be when we're also in person together. And that I need this in my life. I need this in my life. So I'm going to share this QR code, and I don't think any of you need it. It's a 5 mistakes women make that keep them from feeling and looking fabulous after 50 and how to embrace a new mindset. You guys don't need that, but if you download it, you might have someone in mind that you could share it with. So you could just take a picture and or screenshot and share that later. But I don't think anybody here needs that. You're
May
all
not need
like,
it, but we may want it.
well, yeah, you may want it. It's a little worksheet. So my biggest takeaway is just the joy of being with women like this and sharing real talk. I love that.
Thank you. Thank you. Yes. And we always like to wrap up, give you all a few minutes to get yourself settled into your next thing at the top of the hour. So, just curious, what's your biggest takeaway? Hey, grace is my top takeaway among so many great things. So, grace, that's for me. Thank
Be
you.
gentle. Be gentle with
Ooh,
yourself.
nice. Thank you, Deb. Beautiful. Beautiful. Just jump
I
in.
think part of it for me is that combination of uh, when you look back at things, are you doing it because that's what everybody else did? Or are you really truly recognizing your own needs and how to address those? That to me becomes the most powerful part of moving yourself forward. Because if you're doing it based on everybody else's do it this way, is that shooting on yourself. And if you're expecting others to do it, it's sometimes that blaming them for their lack of success, that frequently they were doing the best they could with what they had to work with. And when you can help them to see that, they can move forward in a new way. And I think that's what Julia has beautifully done for many, many women and why she has such an incredible following. So thank you, Julia.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Susan.
Yeah. Jump in, Carol. Jump in, Trisha. Your biggest takeaway from our time together.
Treating yourself like your best friend. I like
Yeah.
I also liked stacking habits because that is the way that my coach has taught me as well. It's like, oh, well, you're enjoying walking. Well, what if we walked a little bit faster? What if we had some way to measure how fast you're walking? Hey, what if you could measure your VO2 and see it improving? So that's one of the things that I'm working on this year.
Congratulations. That's great. Thank you. Trisha, take us home. Biggest takeaway, dear.
Well, I share the beauty and power of everything that everyone has shared as their biggest takeaway. It's just awesome, and to be in the room together and be able to have this kind of conversation, um, armed with women who are strong and powerful enough not to have to fall into the traps of let's talk about perfectionism like it is a thing. Let's all of those kinds of traps. I really value and appreciate, and Julia, to own that example, set that example, create that conversation, that space, and obviously Kathleen, you know exactly what you're doing in terms of creating it, in collaboration. Just really, really appreciate. And no matter how many times we think we might have learned it or we know it, the reminder and the togetherness of how we address these kinds of topics and then set an example for others, share those frameworks, etc. I just think is absolutely invaluable. We are carving a path that wasn't able to be carved for us. So I think we have just a tremendous value in this conversation. Thank you so much.
Awesome.
You're welcome. Well, ladies, thank you again. What a gorgeous time together, and can't wait to see you for our next program.
Thank
Yeah.
you, Kathleen. Thank
Love
you,
all of you.
everybody.
Thank you, Julia. You're fabulous. We love you. We appreciate you. We
Oh,
honor you
mwah. Love you guys
in our
too.
council.
Thank you so
Okay.
much.
Thank you,
Thank you.
ladies. Love to each of you. Bye-bye. Bye for
Bye.
now. Thank you.